Hello, my name's Charlie O'Brien. I'm a touring disc golfer, and I thought it'd be quite good for me to show you my bag and insight to what I'm throwing and the sort of shots I throw. I'm currently sat on a beautiful Isle of Mull, as you can see in the background. We've been here for a couple of days. Today we were playing out on the course. Very windy, but yeah, it was great fun on Mull. When I'm touring around, I like to carry on frisbees. It can warm you up before you're throwing, it's just great fun playing with other people. I typically throw, Ultra Star, you can throw it quite far. I'm starting to get into Ultimate Frisbee a little bit. So that's the Ultra Star that I carry around. And this is an X disc. I'm starting to get into freestyle a little bit, so I'm trying to learn a few tricks. So yeah. That's good fun. Naturally, I'll start with the putters. What I put with are P2s from Discmania. As I was growing up, I always used to put with AVRs, throw AVRs. And P2s are AVRs, but a little bit more stable, a little bit more reliable in the wind. So that's why I like to throw them. I recently picked out these ones. They've got a nice colour to me. Some new ones. I needed some more stability since I broke in my last ones. So I normally hold 4. I currently have 3 in the bag. So I have these 2, which are my putting putters. I normally carry 2 to 4, 4 if I'm traveling around just for my practice putting. And I also carry 1 for my throwing. So this is actually my old putting putter, and I've broken it in a little bit. I've really got used to it, and it's got an old stamp on it. It's one of the older P2s, and it's got great grip to it. I throw D-line plastic for my putters and throwing putters. Well, not all of them, but for my P2s. And I was recently in Glasgow at Springburn playing the Scottish Open, and unfortunately I lost my C-line P2, which is what I like to throw for, driving putters off the tee. You can throw it with a lot of power, it'll hold, you can shape it, and it's typically quite stable for me. I have a couple more putters in the bag for throwing. I have a First Run APX. Growing up, my family loves the APXs, my dad, and I know Rick also loves APXs. And I got a couple of these off Steve Kornmuller, and they fly amazingly. I got an ace the other day with it, probably only about 60 meters, but on the course back at home. Yeah, love it. This is probably my most reliable approach disc. It's an AVR X3. I saw when Tony Ferro was coming over to the UK and playing in a few courses, he was throwing these things. I was asking about them, and he actually gave me one at the end of Creeksea, which was very nice of him, and I've been throwing it ever since. It's great. Really reliable and stable, and yeah, it's my main approach disc. So moving on to the mid-ranges, I'm quite a fan of Discraft for mid-ranges. The O'Briens love Meteors. I have 2 types of Meteors in the bag. First one's an ESP. I really like to throw these shots which are just, you send it out to the left really hard and give it a big anhyzer, just massive anhyzer, and that works well with some holes. Yeah, it's just a reliable shot for me, and that's why I have the Meteor. Or touchy shots, where I want to throw it quite low and precise on a highs and let it just sit up to straight. But I don't really throw this much in the wind because it's one of the most unstable discs in my bag. The Glow Meteor, the Glow plastic, is slightly more stable. So for me, I can throw it on a hyzer and it'll just hold a hyzer. Just a very slow hyzer, or even just throw it flat. I can also force it over to throw a understable shot, but it's more controlled than my ESP, just because it's more stable. Yeah. Moving on to buzzers now. This is probably one of the most beautiful discs in my bag. It's my Elite Z buzz. Got a beautiful tie-dye on it, and it's great watching it fly in the air. This is more of a straight mid-range for me as well. It's quite reliable for me. I can throw it you know, I can throw it out wide on a hyzer and it'll hold, or I can just literally throw it flat and it should just go flat for me if there's no wind. So it's really useful at wooded courses like Dunbar, for example. I use this disc a lot. And similarly to the Meteor, I have a Glow variant. This is more stable. I recently, I go out and train at a rec ground next to my dad's house, and I recently got like about an 80-meter shot in with it. So I'm really loving this disc at the minute. I am gonna have to get a new one if I play with it too much. It gets too understable on me. So this is probably my favourite mid-range. It's an MD4. I've had it for maybe about a year now. You know, it's the mid-range. I had been searching for a stable, reliable mid-range for quite a while, and I finally got a max weight MD4 C-line. And yeah, I use this for probably about up to 100 meters, really, like 80 to 100, even 70 meters. So I just throw on a hyzer, and I know the angle that I'm going to release it at, and I know the distance that it's going to come in, and I trust its stability. But I can also do little flex shots. So I do throw this off the tee a lot. Considering at the moment I'm struggling with my grip with my drivers, I really rely on my mid-ranges in my game. And if you look at how many mid-ranges and putters I have compared to my drivers, you'll really see that I really value my short game. The last mid-range I have in the bag is more, I don't really throw this so much. I'll occasionally throw it, but it's much needed. It's the Cayman. I can throw it on any angle and I know it's going to come back just because it's so stable. So I can throw it in the wind. I can throw it on flex lines. Yeah, it's for every disc golfer they should have a really stable disc that they can pull out if there's a raging headwind coming at you, or if you need to get left quickly. So yeah, that's my Cayman. So in terms of drivers, I'll start off with actually this isn't a fairway, it's a speed 9, but I actually have it as my first driver just because it's so understable. This is my Star Roadrunner. I added into the bag recently because I want to improve my rollers. And I've been throwing this a little bit. I can throw it on big anhyzers, but really if there's a fairway that really calls out for a roller, I'll pull out this disc and give it a go. And with the roller, you can get a long way. And if there's a lot of trees, you know, it limits the probability you're going to hit a tree, just because the angle of the disc is like that rather than like that. So yeah. That's a part of my game that I'm ever improving. Like my forehands are quite weak, and I'm trying to improve them at the moment. This is one of the most iconic discs for the O'Briens. It's a 150 T-Bird. My dad has got quite a few 11-time champion T-Birds. When I say 11-time, that's 11-time Ken Clymer world champion. And they're quite a sought after mould, the champion 11 times. This is actually a 12-time that I literally just picked up last weekend. But it's such an easy disc to throw. You can literally throw it flat or on a hyzer and it'll just go straight, just go. It's one of the easiest discs to throw, and that's why I have that in my bag. Moving on to distance drivers, I throw 2 moulds. I throw Thunderbirds and Destroyers at the moment. I really love the Thunderbirds. I throw a few different types of plastic. Yeah, I'll show you my understable one. It's a G-Star Thunderbird. It's 175 grams, but I do also like the 170 grams. I did have a couple of those in the bag in the past. With these, I like to throw them nice and low. You can throw it on a slight hyzer or flat and they'll just sit up and ride. And I can be very accurate, up to maybe 120 meters, just literally not even angling that much. It will just go straight for me the way I throw. And that's why I love the Thunderbird so much. So this one, I can throw this on a big flex. I can get quite a lot of distance out of this one. I could probably throw it max distance 130 meters. Yeah, I really do love the feel of the G-Star Thunderbird. I will need to replace it eventually because it'll get too understable for me. But yeah. Moving on to another plastic, I actually traded this disc last weekend for, well, I had a champion Thunderbird and I traded it with Patrick McCauley, who is a a big part of the Glasgow Disc Golf Club. Shout out to them. I swapped it for a Glow Thunderbird. Now I haven't thrown this much, but it should be stable. I mean, it is slightly domier than my other Thunderbirds, but I'm interested to give this a go and see how it flies differently to my Star Thunderbird, which I'll come on to now. My Star Thunderbird, I rely on it a lot during a round. This is my main driver. It's my most reliable driver. I throw it flat and it will go flat for about 90 meters, and then the last part of its flight, it'll just hook into the left. I can also throw it on a slight Annie and it will just go straight. Big shout out to Sam George. I picked this one up at Creeksea, I think over a year ago. I know Tony Ferro also throws Die Factory Design Thunderbirds. Yeah, it's just kind of a swirly star plastic. It feels great in the hand. I know a few people that really love this type of disc. Now, like I said, with the Cayman, everyone should have one of those. Again, you should have a stable driver that you can rely on if there's a raging headwind, or if you need to do a Heiser bomb or something like that. You need a Firebird. So I picked up this flat top Firebird off Steve Cornmuller a couple of years ago, I think, and it's been sat in my loft, not really like collecting dust, until I lost my Sexton Firebird, and I pulled this one out. It's a quite beautiful disc, but probably quite easy to lose because it's black. You don't really want to carry black or green discs around, but you know, you got to risk it. So yeah, as I said, I throw this for shots that I really need to be stable, really reliable for me. Yeah. So I normally have more than 2 destroyers, but that's all I have right now. I have 2 destroyers. I normally carry a newer one, and I have a couple of different types here. I have a Paul Macbeth one that's not embossed, so these are particularly stable. This is fairly broken in, and yeah, I throw this for max distance shots. I can literally throw it, use the full flight of the disc and Heiser, get it to come in at the end. I could probably throw this up to 140 if on just a flat surface, and especially if you have the wind over your left shoulder, because I can just throw it out and let the wind carry it. Because it's actually quite light, it's only 160. But as I said, the first Paul Macbeth molds are particularly stable. And I have actually got a couple more newer Paul Macbeth ones that are embossed, that are similar to Avery Jenkins destroyers, as they are, you know, easier to break in, and they're more flexy rather than being so stable. Yeah, this is a beautiful disc. It's a Avery Jenkins destroyer. I got it from Seamus, from Reboot Disc Golf, and yeah, it feels great. As everyone knows in the disc golf community, Avery Jenkins are the best destroyers just because they fly the furthest, they have the most reliable flight, they are just great discs, and this is max weight. Yeah. I did give a few shout outs to different people that gave me discs, so I got discs from, but majority of the discs come from my dad, who runs Catch the Spirit, and I'm sponsored by him. He's growing up, he's helped me travel around all of the UK and Europe playing, but he also just gives me free discs, which is awesome. You know, it's, for someone who plays disc golf, it's a dream to have a dad or mum that just gives you free discs, and they own a flying disc shop. So yeah, most of those discs are from my dad, so I'd like to give a shout out to him. In terms of the minis that I use, I have a cool little Innova Swirly Mini. I also have a Metal Flake Mini, which is quite cool. And shout out to Glasgow Disc Golf Club for this. Yep. I think that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, that was my bag. If people are still watching at this point, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was useful to you, possibly. But yeah, see you next time.